Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing well. In this video we are going to review and practice with Spanish modal verbs. Be sure that you've studied the topic in your textbook. You can also watch the grammar tutorial video. If you're joining us from outside of the class and you don't have any materials, you can simply Google the topic and you'll find some websites that describe how Spanish modal verbs work. You can also find some videos on YouTube that talk about Spanish modal verbs and will give you some examples. So this video is about forcing you to practice a little bit with what you've learned. So once you've studied a little bit, we will review a little bit and just practice some with the modal verbs. So let's go ahead and get started. The first question is, well, what in the world is a modal verb? So modal verbs, if you look up the definition, it says that they are verbs that are followed by an infinitive. So you have this structure where you have a verb that's conjugated, and then it is followed by an infinitive, and that would be a modal verb. The other part of the definition that you usually find is that modal verbs express the speaker's attitude towards an action. So as we look at some examples, that'll probably make more sense. Let's go ahead and get started with our first modal verb here. So this one is the verb necesitar. Necesitar means to need. And you can use necesitar with a noun. For example, if you want to say, I need a pen, necesito una pluma, or we need a pen, necesitamos una pluma, or they need a pen, ellos necesitan una pluma. Now, when it's used with an infinitive, well, this is the modal verb. Okay, so you can use just about any infinitive in there to mean that you need to do something. So for example, if I want to say I need to study, well, you have to conjugate the verb. So we're going to start with the modal verbs in the present tense here. So I need is necesito, and just add on your infinitive, estudiar, and you've got it. That's it. Okay, necesito estudiar. Okay. If I want to use a different subject, I can say he needs to work. Instead of I need to work, he needs to work. Él necesita trabajar. He needs to work. We need to wait. ¿Cómo se dice we need to wait? You've got it. Necesitamos. Necesitamos esperar. We need to wait. We need to leave. Remember, leave is the verb irse. It's reflexive. So I do have a separate video on reflexives. If you haven't reviewed those yet, you can watch that video. So for this one, necesitamos irnos. Remember, ir is the infinitive and it's reflexive. So when you use a reflexive verb with a modal verb, you use the infinitive, but the reflexive pronoun has to agree with the subject. So the subject in this one is nosotros, and the reflexive pronoun that goes with that is nos. So for example, in the present tense, if I wanted to say we leave, I would say nosotros nos vamos. We leave. Since it's with a modal, you have to attach the reflexive to the end, but it also has to agree with the subject. So thus we have necesitamos irnos. If I were to say I need to leave, then I would say necesito irme. You need to leave, necesitas irte. He needs to leave, él necesita irse. Nosotros, we need to leave, nosotros necesitamos irnos. They need to leave, ellos necesitan irse. Okay, so it's just a little tricky with reflexives. She needs to help. Another example. She needs to help. ¿Cómo se dice? Think about it. She needs. Ella necesita to help. Ayudar. Ella necesita ayudar. They need to save money. To save money. Save is ahorrar, and money, I'm sure you know, is dinero. They need to save money. They need. It can be ellos or ellas. Ellos, ellas necesitan ahorrar dinero. Ellas necesitan ahorrar dinero. Ellos necesitan ahorrar dinero. Okay, so working with this first modal verb, I think you get the idea. It's really very simple, just conjugated verb plus an infinitive. So your ability to say things now or to express things with modal verbs, just this one modal verb in particular, is only limited by how many infinitives that you know. So with this little information here in this chart, think of all the things that you can say. For example, I need to eat, necesito comer. I need to study, necesito estudiar. I need to work, necesito trabajar. I need to wait, necesito esperar. I need to practice, necesito practicar. I need to understand, necesito entender or comprender. I need to exercise, necesito hacer ejercicio, etc. It just goes on. And that's just with yo necesito. I could say, tú necesitas comer, you need to eat. Tú necesitas estudiar, or ella necesita comer, she needs to eat. Ella necesita estudiar. Necesitamos trabajar, we need to work. Necesitamos practicar, we need to practice. Necesitan, ellos necesitan hacer ejercicio, they need to exercise. Ellos necesitan esperar, and so forth and so on. So really, the more infinitives you learn, well, the sky's the limit. Okay, so let's look at some other, modal verbs and some examples. Deber is commonly translated as should or must. If you want to say that you should do something or you must do something, it is deber plus the infinitive. Deber, the nice thing is it's a regular verb, so debo, debes, debe, debemos, debéis, deben, plus your infinitive. An example with this one is I need to study. I should study, I must study. Debo estudiar. Debo estudiar. Querer, to want. Notice that querer is a stem changer, so E to IE. So to want to do something is querer plus an infinitive. So I want to eat, quiero comer. Again, you can say a lot of different things as long as you know infinitives. I want to practice, quiero practicar. I want to learn, quiero aprender. I want to go, quiero ir, and so forth and so on. Poder. Poder is commonly translated as to be able to or can. So can do something or to be able to do something with the infinitive. So I can go, puedo ir. I can work, puedo trabajar. I can drive a car, puedo manejar un carro. I can wait, puedo esperar, and so forth and so on. The next one, saber. Saber means to know. When it's used as a modal verb with an infinitive, it means to know how to do something. So if I want to say I know how to drive, that would be sé manejar. If I want to say I know how to speak Spanish, yo sé hablar español. I could ask someone, do you know how to speak Spanish? ¿Sabe usted hablar español? ¿Sabe usted, do you know how to dance? ¿Sabe usted bailar? And so forth and so on. Okay, so saber plus infinitive, to know how to do something. Our last modal verb in the list for today is soler. Now notice that soler is an O to UE stem changer, so you need to be aware of that and be sure that you memorize the forms. So to English, soler is commonly translated as to usually do something. So for example, if I say suelo cenar a las 7, remember cenar is to eat dinner. So this would mean I usually eat dinner at 7 o'clock. So whenever you talk about things that you usually do, you can use soler with an infinitive. So for example, I usually study in the evening. Suelo estudiar por la noche. I usually work in the afternoon. Suelo trabajar por la tarde. I usually read the paper, the newspaper. Suelo leer el periódico. I usually watch TV. Suelo mirar la televisión, and so forth and so on. Okay, so those are the Spanish modal verbs, and your ability to express ideas is only limited by how many infinitives you know. So my suggestion is Really work on your infinitives. Try to learn as many as possible because it just opens up your possibilities for expressing ideas in Spanish, especially when you use modal verbs. Okay, well that's it for this video. I hope that you are really enjoying your ever increasing abilities in Spanish. Okay, es todo. Hasta luego. Ciao.